Hot off the heels of WWE's latest Saturday night's main event, we see squash matches, we see clean finishes, we see dirty finishes, major title changes, huge results, a massive tournament being announced, but did anybody actually watch it? Plus, what effect did the World Series have on wrestling this week? And will AI-generated pro wrestling be a part of our future as fans? All that is on the way.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to McGuire on Wrestling.
Allow me to reintroduce myself
with Mike McGuire.
Stand up, son. Let me take a good look at you.
This guy's a serious professional.
You know what I want to talk about? Yeah.
Well, the professional wrestling. Do I have your attention now?
Done shilling. I'm done shilling, okay?
Let's get this show on the road.
I love professional wrestling.
Thanks for downloading this week's show. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast feed yet under Celebrate Wrestling, please do that, where you'll find this show, as well as Legends and Champions with Andy Evans and Stephen Bennett, the alternate commentary table, and a bunch more. But this is McGuire on Wrestling, where we look at the week in wrestling, give you our thoughts, get some outside opinion, and of course, get your feedback as well on the week in wrestling. So we're going to do all that. WWE this past Saturday had Saturday night's main event. I don't know of anyone in Canada that watched this live without at least keeping some tabs on the World Series Game 7 that took place on Saturday night as well. I was actually at a charity event benefiting a local senior citizens organization. I had donated some services there. And so I was keeping tabs on the game, on Saturday night's main event, and the dance floor all at the same time. So, multitasking. That's what we do here. CM Punk is once again a world champion in WWE, and this time it's been longer than 5 minutes, so that's a good thing. We're also going to talk about JADE Cargill's arrival on the world championship scene, what could be happening to Tiffany Stratton, all the things going on in AEW that people aren't talking about, and a big conversation this week on AI. A couple weeks ago, there was a story that came out that WWE may have been toying with using generative AI to come up with storylines in the future. We're going to talk to the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer about that specifically, as well as the fallout from Saturday night's main event, and open the floor to your opinions as well. Because let's face it, pro wrestling has always been the testing ground, the litmus paper, if you would, for all sorts of experiments and entertainment, whether you know it or not. And it's kind of interesting to see what this whole new wave of AI is doing to entertainment in general. I mean, how often do you open your phone now and in your feed you see some AI-generated slop of whatever? There was a whole series of John Cena and Roman Reigns showing up to people's doorbell cameras and stealing candy from their bowls, even though that was completely AI and made up. There's been full matches that have been created. There's been wrestling promos, some pretty bad ones actually, involving historical figures that have been made. It's a mess out there. And we're going to talk about AI, its potential influence on pro wrestling, and why, honestly, and you know me, I'll give you like a little bit of an opinion here and there, but honestly, I'm not one to hardline on a lot of things, but why generative AI taking over pro wrestling could be legitimately the worst thing from a creative standpoint to ever happen to pro wrestling. So we'll talk about that and a lot more. We are going to go through the Saturday night's main event card, but first, let's talk about some of the biggest stories from the past 7 days. We put them together in a nice little bundle called The 5 Count.
You want to hear the breaking news?
Well, we start off with a story that wasn't AI generated, but definitely proved how sometimes even the simplest of miscommunications can spread like wildfire, and we want to send the best wishes out to Mike Rotunda and his family. Mike Rotunda, of course, famously known as IRS in the WWF, also just as Mike Rotundo, and being part of WWF Tag Team Championship lore, as well as being in WCW and a litany of other promotions throughout the years. A report came out quoting Barry Windham, his brother-in-law, and of course longtime friend for over 40 years, the namesake of Windham Rotunda, who, by the way, was featured this past week on Legends and Champions, that Mike Rotunda was in hospice care And, of course, that sent a litany of well wishes and thoughts and prayers going out to the guy. And that's all well-deserved, except for the fact that the term hospice care was inaccurate and has since been corrected by the Rotunda family. Now, it turns out that Mike Rotunda did suffer a pretty severe heart attack and was in critical condition, but now is undergoing rehabilitative care, which is much different than hospice care. Either way, the story has since been straightened out. We want to send, again, our very best out to the Rotunda family, including Mike Rotunda. WWE's Saturday night's main event took place this past Saturday from Salt Lake City, and it was an interesting card, if not a long one. I mean, they did have 2 hours and change to fill, but they did that with 4 different matches, all of which were for a different championship, including the WWE Championship being retained by Cody Rhodes.
Now the official has come to. And Cody Rhodes with a crossroads to McIntyre. No way. Into the cover. Cody survives.
A new WWE Women's Champion in the form of Jade Cargill.
And Jade realizes it's her time. There it is. Jaded by Cargill. Cover. Jade Cargill wins the championship.
Dirty Dom retaining the Intercontinental Championship thanks to some out-of-ring shenanigans against Penta and Rusev. And CM Punk is now your new World Heavyweight Champion.
Punk with another GTS. Collapses into the cover. CM Punk is the World Heavyweight Champion.
The interesting thing about all 4 of these matches, besides the results themselves, no shenanigans, no real storyline progressions, just straight matches, straight finishes, and again, 2 new champions. Something else pretty huge came out of WWE Saturday night's main event broadcast, and that was the announcement of how John Cena's final opponent would be determined this coming December.
A 16-man tournament will commence. The field will be chosen at random, filled with competitors from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and maybe even some faces who don't even work.
You may remember Dave Meltzer on this very show told us that a tournament was in the plans, and now all bets are on as to see who the 16 participants will be, and of course, who will be the star to get that top spot in December. Well, we all know that John Cena's last match will take place at Saturday night's main event in December, but the next Saturday night's main event will be coming to Canada. On January 24th, the first edition for 2026 of Saturday night's main event is confirmed to be taking place at Montreal's Bell Centre. Tickets for that event go on sale this Friday. John Cena will not be appearing, so it'll be interesting to see how the attendance, how the demand for this show goes as well, but WWE still hasn't been having that many problems selling tickets either way, so we'll see what the prices look like this coming Friday. And circling back on retirement news, we head over to Japan, where Tanahashi seems to be teasing who his final opponent could be at Wrestle Kingdom this coming January. Now, there's been a lot of speculation, including on this show, that Shinsuke Nakamura might be the final opponent. Of course, Nakamura and Tanahashi have a massive history against each other, and having them cap off Tanahashi's career at Wrestle Kingdom would make all the sense in the world. Well, things got a little more interesting as in a backstage segment after a show, Tanahashi and Geto were seen talking to each other, and Geto offered that if he has chosen his opponent, arrangements could be made. So we'll see who Tanahashi has in mind, if in fact it is Nakamura, and if so, that match will likely be announced very soon. Well, coming up next, we're going to take you through this past Saturday night. A ton went on this show, and we'll talk to Dave Meltzer about that, including where certain stars could be headed now following the outcomes of their matches. And we're going to have a special conversation about AI, generative AI, as a matter of fact, and whether it will ever have a place in pro wrestling. That is coming up.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
The alternate commentary table, ACT, brought to you by the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed. Listen, it's Mitch, it's Dimitri. We got this little pod thing that we do every single week where we talk about the week in wrestling and the way in which we do it from the other side of the railing. Right, Mitch?
I like that.
We're coming at it because we love it. We hate it. The alternate commentary table.
ACT.
Download it anywhere where you're getting your podcasts.
Sure, sure.
It's time for the Wrestling Observer Insider with Dave Meltzer, McGuire
Well,
on
Dave,
Wrestling.
congratulations. Your country won the World Series.
Yeah, we're in a big country.
Well, I saw a lot of American fans, too, even saying, like, there was a no-win situation for them because it was either the Dodgers or Canada winning the World Series. So,
Yeah.
I mean...
I will say here, everybody was rooting for the Blue Jays.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was actually at a club with Mick Foley on Tuesday night, and he actually kind of asked, and like everyone was rooting for the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You and Mick just out clubbing on a Tuesday?
No. He did a show in San Jose.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Just picture you guys like, hey, what are you doing? Want to go out? All right, sure. Mick Foley. No. All right. Well, you know what? Let's talk about some wrestling, of course. Another busy week. Probably the most significant as far as title matches and as far as outcomes, Saturday night's main event we've actually had out of these. And ironically, it was the one that wasn't on the network. It wasn't on NBC.
Yeah. And I saw YouTube numbers for outside the United States, and they seemed really small. I mean, it didn't feel like a lot of people watched, again, because of the World Series, 7th game of the World Series head to head.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because so much of the reaction I got is that it's like, oh, nothing happened. And it's like they changed 2 titles. Punk, after all this time, he had that little cup of coffee thing for 5 minutes with the championship. Yeah. But, it's like his chase of the title ended. He won. Yeah. And he's one of those popular guys there, and people aren't taking it as a big thing. I think there's a fatigue of right now when it comes to this, too many big shows, and this not being considered a big one. I think that Saturday night's main event, when it's not on NBC, it doesn't feel big. And I don't know. It was like, it was weird. It's like they did matches. All the matches were good other than the Jade Cargill match. And that was short. And it was, noteworthy title changes. And yet people were just, nothing happened on the show. I mean, and because there were no angles. So I guess you could say that, but it's just interesting that world title changes after a multi-year chase is not important enough anymore unless you get like an angle.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, so I was paying attention to, I was actually at a fundraiser event on Saturday night. And so it's funny because they had the Jays game on at this fundraiser event, even though the fundraiser had nothing to do with sports at all. Everybody knew, like, we better have the game on or nobody's going to show up to this thing. Yeah. So we did. I was checking Saturday night's main event on my phone. And it's funny, with a 4-match card, I was like, okay, well, there's not really much to check in on. I'll just watch it when I get home the next morning. So I did. It's funny. Like you said, there was a lot of build up to Punk's win as far as the chase goes, but realistically, I found myself even going, okay, what's the angle now? What's the gimmick? What's going to happen afterwards? And there was nothing afterwards.
I don't think look, it was an impromptu thing. When Seth Rollins got hurt, everything changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was expected to win on this show at all. And, and they had to make a champion, and they figured he was the best bet. And he probably was for right now. And so he got it, but it was like a babyface match, very patterned match. I mean, I thought it was a good match. A lot of people didn't. I don't know why. I mean, there was a one miss neck breaker spot, big deal in the 20-minute match. I mean, I thought it was overall good, and it was typical. It's like there's a certain WWE main event pattern, and it's a good pattern, and they did it. But for whatever reason, maybe because 2 baby faces, I'm not really sure, what the reason was why it didn't really seem to get a lot of excitement.
There's some guys that can pull off that main event pattern, as you say, though, that I feel can still make it feel a little different and a little fresher. They throw in little things, and there's a lot of conversation, and I don't want to dogpile on the guy here, but there's a lot of conversation on Jey Uso about, has he been able to hold up as a singles wrestler? Has he been able to fit that mold? Do you think that might be the struggle they're having with him is getting him into that. Like you can play the part, you know what I mean? Like you can cast him as that guy in that role, but if he's not the guy that's making it work as well as the other guys do, can that be the problem, you think, or is it something grander than that?
I don't know. Like he comes out and every week he gets a giant reaction. So I don't know that it's a problem, and it's not like business is bad. Business is great. So I don't really, I don't see it. I think it's one of those weird things. I mean, one of the things I've noticed in the last 3 years or so is that people's complaints about so much stuff now are things that business itself like totally contradicts. But it just becomes one of those things that swells on social media, and I've seen it in AEW as well, where something will work, a show will do well, and then people will say, oh, that guy shouldn't be in the main event. And it's like, the show did well. That's your answer. Oh, I think that main event didn't work. And it's like, if it did, I mean, it did its goal. The match, people reacted to the match or whatever, and it's like in this one, people reacted to the match. It wasn't like it was a dead match. And believe me, I've seen plenty of dead matches, and, they'll point to the attendance wasn't the greatest. It's Salt Lake City. It's a tough market. It's not like, look, they had SmackDown and Raw this last week, both sold out. It's not bad, I mean, it's not peak. I mean, it is not peak, with no doubt about it, but it's still like way above, normal standards.
Well, and there was also no John Cena on this card, which has been a huge attendance draw.
Yeah, but they got to live without him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a gift for this year that probably kept the peak going. I think it would have gone down sooner, but you had the John Cena retirement thing to kind of get you through this year. And then after that, it's like maybe things will go down if they don't, if something, big doesn't happen, I suppose,
Just going back to the YouTube numbers you had mentioned earlier, when I was tuning in, I'd tune in the first time to the Cody and Drew match, and I noticed because they can show you exactly how many people are watching it.
Right, you can see how many people are watching. Yeah.
So I was at 170,000.
Okay, that's horrible, don't you think?
Right. Well, I agree, and then part of me was thinking, okay, well, if a lot of this is coming from Canada, nobody was watching this. If they were watching, like everybody was watching this.
Well, it would not include the United States, of course, in those numbers, but it would include most countries outside the United States because it wasn't.
That's where I'm wondering too.
So yeah, that number shocked me when I heard that. Even though I know it doesn't include the United States, it's like you would think in a whole world, a big match like that, a big Saturday Night's Main Event. I think people, I don't know if Saturday Night's Main Event means a lot outside the United States. It does mean something in the United States, but only when it's on NBC. It's like if it's not on NBC, it's like you can call it Saturday Night's Main Event and you can put good matches on it and people they see it as like they didn't see it as a big thing. And I don't know what happened with Jesse Ventura. I think his contract was probably up, but, but it's like all those things that were on the television version, like it just felt like they rolled out 4 matches and it was, people were talking to me, oh, it's like a Raw. And it's like, well, it's more main event matches than a Raw, but a Raw match has more interviews and angles.
Yeah.
So in some ways, a Raw is more interesting in some ways than this. So it's like, I think if you have matches, I think that the standard for matches is so high. And even though the matches were good, I think that now we're so spoiled that if we don't have like this freaking great match, it's like, it's not, the wrestling's average. And it's, I guess by today's standards, it was average, but to me, I still consider it good,
Well, and we have to remember too, like it's a weekend, so a lot of people are going to be doing social media highlights, and that's how they're going to find out everything. As of the time that you and I are talking right now, which is 20 hours after the live stream happened, the total count is at 1.4 million views for the entire show. And then for the highlights package, 806,000 views. So again, still not exactly what I would call a blockbuster as far as full viewership goes.
That's what the AAA shows do.
Yeah.
With WWE, not AAA didn't do that on its own, but with the like the Worlds Collide type shows, that's the kind of numbers that they were doing.
Yeah. Well, and again, going back to the whole John Cena factor, going back to the whole everything else going on in the world factor, it's still Halloween weekend too, which there was a lot of parties actually going on on the night of November 1st as well. So
tons of that. And the World Series, it was, the World Series was the focus. And, in the United States, it's not just the World Series. Saturday night during football season, you know what I mean? It's like there's so much football. So it was not, I looked at the Google searches and they were like non-existent. And it's just like, it was dominated by the World Series and college football. That's what it was. And there was nothing in wrestling in the top couple hundred, which is unusual for a big show. For a pay-per-view, it would never be like this. Pay-per-view, you'll usually have, 200,000, and this had 7,000. You know what I mean? So it's like they wanted you to think it's a Peacock special, so it's just like a pay-per-view, and the audience didn't buy it that way. That's the answer. I don't know what the answer, is. And again, we got Survivor Series coming. We just had, the pay-per-view a couple weeks ago. People weren't ready for a big show, even though they promoted it well and they had a lot of matches. It was the focal point of the TV for a couple weeks.
We're talking to Dave Meltzer. This is McGuire on Wrestling on the radio and online. Of course, recapping this past weekend's Saturday night's main event. You'd mentioned the Jade Cargill Tiffany Stratton match. This was the squash match it needed to be. Jade is now champion. You said they've wanted this for a while for her. So what do we do with Tiffany Stratton now?
Looked to me from TV the night before that they'll probably put her in with Julia. But first Julia's going to wrestle Chelsea Green, and I think that then they're going to go to Julia and or Chelsea Green against Tiffany Stratton. But I don't know where they go with Jade Cargill. I don't know if it's Charlotte Flair or Alexa Bliss. Who else is there on that side? Bianca Belair, I think, is the obvious one, but I don't know when she's coming back.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting there, but it did seem to be quite a decimation of Tiffany Stratton, so it'll be
it really was
to see what they do with her.
Yeah, it really was. It was more, for someone who they had kept the title on for so long. I thought that it was, kind of like, hey, you know what? You're not our star. You know what I mean? This one's our star. And that was their, it's very clear that was their decision. That was not set up for a rematch in a long program whatsoever.
Is there anything that Tiffany may have wanted to do differently, or is there anything that may have decided that factor, you think, for them, or was it always just kind of going to be Jade and that's the way it is? Or do you think that Tiffany fit into the babyface champion role well?
No, I think Tiffany should be a heel too. That's the funny part of it. I thought if they were going to do a turn, it would be Tiffany, but I guess Jade needed the heel turn, and she's better off in many ways as a heel, because her babyface selling is still not good. And, that's the weakness. And as a heel, they can avoid that.
The Intercontinental three-way, kind of a silly, fun finish. With Dominic Mysterio now, I expect basically not anything mind-blowing as far as a wrestling finish goes, but I did find it entertaining, if nothing else, with the bell hammer being involved and ringing the bell early and just the stupid grin on his face. Dominic Mysterio, honestly, is one of the few guys I think right now that can get away with being this ridiculous. Agree or disagree?
He's getting really over, and in a weird way, because it's like he does everything like a heel that you should boo, and he gets cheered.
Speaking of somebody who was doing things that a heel would do, chorus of boos for Cody when he did the DDT on Drew McIntyre on the title. Are we seeing a bit of a pivot in Cody Rhodes?
It looks like they're doing slow hints, so maybe they are. Yeah. I could. It's a risky one, but at this point, I don't know. I know 6 months ago when Dwayne suggested all this, that within the company they thought that's the worst idea possible. But now, they do have to shake things up. But it's like they did it with they do it so much, and sometimes it like with Cena, it was such a flop. With Cody, I don't know. It's I think the thing is with Cody is that you need Jacob Fatu, really, really strong, because he needs a challenger, and that would be the guy. And I know that there's people really behind Jacob Fatu. So if they do that program, which they were going to do, I do think that no matter how they do it, just based on the nature of everything, that Jacob would be the babyface because he's the one climbing the ladder, and people like to see the title change. So I think I could see that. I could see him, whether they do a subtle heel thing where he's just a heel for now, or it's a full-fledged heel thing and they use that as the top program. I mean, we'll see.
It was funny when I saw that spot happen with the belt. It took me back to prime red and yellow 80s Hulk Hogan, where Hogan would do things would be considered heelish things and he'd get away with it and the fans would still cheer and explode and everybody would be loving it. But Cody didn't get that reaction to that maneuver.
No. So, yeah. It was a test, and then, there's the thing is they had teased Cody with Brock Lesnar.
Right.
So that'll be interesting, especially if they cheer Brock Lesnar over Cody. That seems to be, the next thing. And then you always have Cody and Randy Orton, which we always figured that they would do at some point. And at that point, Cody would be the heel, whether it be subtle heel or full-fledged heel, because I think people would cheer Randy Orton over Cody, just again rooting for their old favorite to win another championship.
All right, well, there's a little bit of Saturday night's main event. So talking to Dave Meltzer from Wrestling Observer. Dave, last week it was just starting as you and I were talking. The social media campaign, we thought it might be Gunther or something. We didn't know for sure. Turns out it was a WrestleMania 42 promo. It's now come out with the whole Vegas thing. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of fans asking this question. Why is Triple H in all these things?
Because he's the face of the company.
Is he the face? That's a great question, though. Is he the face? That's what they should be banking on.
That's what they're marketing. He's the Dana White. They have Dana White in UFC. They have Paul Levesque in WWE. The idea is talent comes and goes. They're always going to be there. They're the manipulators. They're the guy, and they think that's the thing that they think. He was main event of the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's like that's just what it is. It's like he is the guy. He's the guy behind Unreal who's doing all of the manipulations. And these guys, he's the sage wisdom guy, Joe Eater in bodybuilding when I was a kid, and that's just the creation of what they're doing. So yeah, he's there and he's the manipulator and those were his stars. And I know a lot of complaints that there were no women there. And quite frankly, in their minds, those guys that they had there were the guys who they see as their biggest stars and their highest paid guys. But for optics, they should have put two women there for optics. That's my thought.
Well, maybe they'll shoot another one. Who knows? But
yeah.
There's still lots of time, obviously, between now and WrestleMania. Something there isn't a lot of time left for, though, is John Cena's retirement tour. And you had told me that it was going to be a tournament that was confirmed this past Saturday night. Mm-hmm. You and I are at least I'm still leaning towards Gunther being the guy. Are you still thinking he's going to be the guy to win this thing?
I mean, he was the guy. He was definitely 100% the guy, when the tournament idea was conceived. And this goes back months.
Right.
I haven't heard anything that's changed. I mean, it could. They might go, people know. Or they might go, so much of what I've heard months ago and what's happened, most of it's actually gone the way without changes. And the only stuff that has changed is the stuff that's related to Jacob Fatu and who got hurt. And, obviously all the Seth Rollins stuff that had to be redone. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, everything's pretty much, like I was told Dominic and John Cena for the Intercontinental title at, Survivor Series. And we'll see. You'll see that would be the next one that I was told about, and in theory, that would lead to Cena versus Gunther as an Intercontinental title match if they go in that direction. That was not 100%. I was told Cena's winning, but I was told it's definitely being talked about that's what Cena will do, for his final matches. That he'll be the one to end Dominic. At some point, it's like I don't know if he's the guy, but I don't know that they're going to have Dominic beat Cena either, especially. In his next to last match, I would be really surprised if they did that. But, they did have Lesnar squash him, so who knows? And I'm sure Cena wants to lose on his way out. He just seems to be that type of person. And people, I don't know, I haven't heard him tell anyone, but people who know him have said, he's going to be like Sting, who's going to want to lose. his last match. Obviously Sting didn't lose his last match. Other people, convinced him or basically told him it's like, you're not losing, but he wanted to lose, because that's what he thinks is, like Terry Funk, you think the right thing on the way out is to lose, not to win. Other people, that's what they did with Bill Goldberg too. But, John Cena is a bigger deal to them than Bill Goldberg. I could see him winning and being triumphant.
Don't tell Goldberg that, whatever you do. We're talking to Dave Meltzer. This is McGuire on Wrestling. Coming up next, a conversation that I alluded to last week I want to talk with Dave about here, and that is AI taking over our world and the speculation that AI-generated wrestling could be a thing of the future. More with Dave Meltzer here on McGuire on Wrestling coming up.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
Legends and Champions is your weekly fix to go old school, looking at the classic world of professional wrestling. From Hulk Hogan to the Hitman Bret Hart to the Icon Sting to the total package Lex Luger. We have it all each and every week on Legends and Champions, part of the Celebrate Wrestling Network. And it's available on a Wednesday with me, Andy Evans. See you there.
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dave Meltzer here. Dave, thanks for all the recap on Saturday night's main events. And, of course, looking forward to the John Cena tournament. Okay, a couple weeks ago, the story came out, and then there were some kind of dips and doodles as more things developed with this whole thing. So can you, in a nutshell, give me the explanation of what the situation is with WWE, AI, and their use of that in their creative department or their creative process moving forward? What you've heard.
They would like to use it. They've already experimented with it. The only problem is the experiments have been terrible. So until the experiments are effective, I don't see anything happening. But, that would be the goal is certainly to use that as part of the process. I don't think it would ever be exclusively be an AI generated, storyline show, but throwing it in, I could, like I said, they've experimented with it. Other people in wrestling have experimented with it as well, and also not gotten good results. I was talking with someone just this last week about it, and they really are strong on the feeling that it would never work because, there's just what's the word I'm looking for? There is a part of wrestling creative that is based on hunches and feelings and not strict data. And strict data can regurgitate things from the past, but they can't, time and place is so important and each personality is different. Just because if you had Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes doing some angle, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, right? And you regurgitate it with two other people, everything the same, it probably won't work the same. Because it's not Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and it's just like the people involved are different. The time is different. What the society wants is different. What has worked now isn't what worked before. So it's like, and those things, it's like you need a human who is in touch with this current audience. And it's not the easiest audience to be in touch with because there's this audience. It's like, they have a small, very, very strong audience, but the goal always is to get the big audience. Right. And right now that's, we don't know. We don't know how big the audience is. And there's just so many questions about that. So there's so many hunches involved right now.
So, okay. And that's a great word, hunch, right there that you use, because to me, and I'll go ahead and say right now, when it comes to the creative process, when it comes to everything from movies to video games to radio to TV, all these things, I am very, very much opposed to the use of especially the generative AI that we've talked about. And we talked about this a little bit on the show last week too. Generative AI versus data manipulating AI. Data is what you can use to organize your calendar and sort your files on your
computer. That's good.
That sort of thing. That's fine. Yeah, when you're starting to rely on things to come up with generative ideas, like you've said, it's a lot of regurgitating. But in my mind, too, pro wrestling, no matter what people think of it as entertainment or whether they're into it or not, I think it's universally agreed that the best pro wrestling and the best pro wrestlers, the best pro wrestling promoters are the ones that can pivot on a dime, and they can read a room. They can read a mood. They can see viewership. They can see social media, and they can adapt even sometimes in the middle of a match. Right?
The best wrestlers in the old days would be able to make changes in the middle of a match. Yes. Now it's more difficult because everything's so planned out. I mean, I've seen many, many, many matches where I'm watching it going like, I know this is the plan. And you know what? The people will go nuts if you switched, but it's already planned. And they never switch. They never switch in the middle of a match. The only thing I can only recall like one time that Levesque has switched in the middle of a match. And it was more because of a feeling that it was in a tournament where he thought that the person who was winning was not good and didn't want that person to advance. I mean, it's not like you have the, WrestleMania main event and or even even a TV show main event and just go, you know what? I mean, the people were just with this other guy. Let's change the finish. And there's been times I'm thinking going like, man, it's a great time to change the finish, but they don't, that's not how they operate, because things are planned so far in advance that you often just can't. You take everything out of context as soon as you start changing finishes based on, one night crowd reaction just to get a giant pop that you didn't expect. And then, and sometimes that crowd reaction leads to the next month where they do in fact go like, look what happened the last month. Let's go with that, what we learned there. And then often it's like, it's the wrong time and place and it doesn't work as well. And it's almost like anticlimactic. But yeah, you're right. There's wrestling booking it's not a science. It's a hunch. There's no scientific way or scientific leanings of like what is going to work and what's not going to work. So yeah, I don't think a computer can do it. I don't think a computer, I just don't think that it can do it. I think you can use it for, hey, how many times have these guys wrestled in the last year? And what did we do in those matches so we don't duplicate it or we learn from those? It's probably very effective in doing that. And I think I think that can be very beneficial, actually.
Well, then the question is how accurate is the AI going to be at this point? Because we've already seen other situations. I mean, you can go into Google, still ask Google a question right now, and it'll get things wrong half the time. Because
I use it for research. And then sometimes, or people will do it with me. Like one person did a thing with me and just goes like, asked it a question and, and they just said like, is this the right answer? And it's just like, no, it's not the right answer. It's just not,
Yeah. And so whether it's an absolute yes or no, I mean, even little things like just the context of how a match may have been perceived or, how a fan reaction was. I don't trust AI to give you the proper analytics of that based on what it's going to sample from people. It's going to go to like blogs. It's going to go to the Wrestling Observer website, but it's also going to go to Jimmy's basement blog and sample data from that, right? So if he thinks everything sucks on TV, then everything sucks.
Yeah, and they take that information from nobody, and that's part of their thing. And it's like, that's nobody. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've seen like they base stuff like I did some stuff on the Mr. McMahon show, right? That big documentary Netflix did, and I asked some questions about that, and it's like they regurgitated what people who knew nothing about nothing, thought of it.
Well, yeah, and that's just I mean, how many days or how many times to this day? And I mean, the guy's been dead for years now, but how many times do you still get asked if there were two Ultimate Warriors, right? Like, these are just things that become, but there's a thing on the internet that I'm sure that says there were like 10 Ultimate Warriors. Yeah. And so AI is going to sample that and be like, well, some people think there were 10 Ultimate Warriors.
It's disputed. And it's like, yeah, there's no dispute.
Yeah, but it's just, and so when it comes down to the entertainment factor as well, too, I mean, this is where pro wrestling to me will always keep its spirit, because pro wrestling was still always about two guys or two girls getting in a ring and doing what they do. And I don't know. To me, anything that's trying to pass as entertainment that is completely derived of AI is you're just asking for your money to be stolen.
It's soulless. It's not going to work.
Yeah. And the other thing too, though, is that, okay, so you're doing that. Are you an artist anymore? Like if this was a singer, you know, and we've in the country music world here about a year ago, not even, okay, they had a singer sing a song that was in the style of Randy Travis. They sampled Randy's voice over it and released it as a Randy Travis song. Now, God love Randy Travis. The guy's been through enough, and you know, it's a terrible situation with him. But I mean, like, there are people on the other side of the spectrum, Dave, and I want to know from your studyings of what you see online and stuff like that. There are people that will listen to the radio, that will go to their Spotify playlist, that will watch TV, that will watch the internet and say, you know what? I will let the internet, I will let the radio, I will let the TV tell me what I'm supposed to enjoy, what I'm supposed to like, and I will just like it. Do you see there being enough of a profit margin there for companies to actually even consider this when it comes to something like pro wrestling in the future?
Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, WWE is going to be revolved around profit margin.
Right.
So the idea is, you know, which some of the people there have talked about, including to me, the idea of like, will they cut jobs and use AI, you know, to replace jobs? And it's like, you know, every other company's going to do that. So probably, yeah. Yeah.
So for the same group in WWE that thought, you know what, let's make speed a thing for Twitter. And this becomes a thing. We're going to have 3-minute matches. That's the way it is. Forget the fact that, you know, it's a 3-minute hard limit match and that's the way it goes. It makes no sense in the ethos of the rest of the wrestling world, but here it does.
No.
Yeah. You know, like this to me is like having your copy of Rise War from 1997 or Warzone, you know, plug it into the PlayStation 1 and let the automatic demo match go against each other. And there's probably people that are going to watch it, but do you think there's ever going to be enough that people are going to watch it and go, yeah, that's wrestling?
I can't even make a prediction on that because so many things, there's too many variables and things are going to change so much. So if I say I don't think so, I don't like it, that doesn't mean in 5 years.
Well, I'm not marrying you to your comment either, okay? This is not a grandiose statement for the end of time for Dave Meltzer, okay? Let's get that clear right now. But I mean, I just wonder the way that people are consuming things, if businesses and if corporations will actually think this. Look, in my business, man, there's like 3 or 4 national AI radio hosts right now in different countries. And they're completely imaginary voices saying completely programmed things. You know, my show's not that great. I'll go ahead and say my regular radio, it's not that great, but damn it, it's real. You know?
Yeah.
So I just don't know, man. I just worry that the money is going to get to the point where that's all they're going to see. And then generations are going to look at this and say, oh yeah, that's wrestling. That's art.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who, you know, again, I don't know anyone who can accurately predict where wrestling's going to be in 4 years. You know, like I think that I can predict the next 2 months, but not 4 years. Anything longer than that, there's just too many variables.
You know, and this is where we're going to close it today on this AI conversation here, Dave. I might try this, and I'm not saying we might do this somewhere down the line here, okay? But I almost want to have a pay-per-view or a PLE come up, and I want to ask AI, what ratings would Dave Meltzer give these matches? And then see if it matches what your actual ratings. Because we never talk about your rating, and we're not gonna. But
it wouldn't. But yeah,
wouldn't that? I don't know, man.
Well, you know, I mean, they used to have gamblers, you know, bet on what my ratings were, you know, and you know, but they would do it before the match. You know, I mean, it's different after the match. You know, before the match, you know, who's to know? Right. After the match, you know, who knows? I mean, I don't know. And
I'm very curious. You know what? So maybe after the next, I don't know, we'll pick a show here, AEW or WWE. We'll figure out something. But I would love to see how that shakes down, just because I think it would be hilarious, to be honest. I think it would get it so wrong. And if it gets it so right, then we all got to be worried.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Well, let's talk about the very real workings of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and some of the stories you've been working on. What are some things people can read about?
Yeah, I did a big article this week on Hall of Fame candidates from Japan and Mexico. So that was like one of the big things. And, just, previewing the rest of the year, where we're going and things like that. There wasn't any, I had a big story on Mike Rotunda, real big story.
That was a crazy situation, wasn't it? Holy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for those that don't know the story, we talked about it a bit at the beginning of the show. Barry Windham apparently misspoke. Thank goodness in a way, but at the same time, oof, and said.
But he was in serious condition. He had a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was out for, a week, and he's still recovering from it. It was a very serious heart attack. So, but he's not in hospice, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the big difference. So he's in a rehabilitation program right now in a hospital, but not in hospice. So, yeah. And honestly, I can't fault Barry for that. That's a medical term that, probably just popped in his head and that's what was said, but I don't think there was definitely no malice there. Geez, they're like brothers, Well,
they're brother-in-laws who've been friends for 44 years.
Yeah, so there's no, people need to just pump the brakes if they think somebody was trying to be mean about it. But so a story on Mike Rotunda, Hall of Fame. What else can people read about?
Last week wasn't as much giant news, but just build for Full Gear, build for Survivor Series, what the business is looking like in the future months, and the ratings, which is a story in and of itself. The American ratings they've killed wrestling. It's like it makes wrestling look very bad in the eye of the programmers because they've changed how they do the ratings. And
so we've talked about this a few times. So it's consistently showing up bad now, though, because the first couple weeks could have been a glitch, right?
Yeah, no, it's still bad. And the thing is where I really noticed it was this past Monday night, the football rating on ESPN was just impossible. It was impossible. I don't know what's going on, but it was about like football, it might be 10% up or 10% down of what I would think. This was half on ESPN, but the ABC number was higher. And it's like ABC and ESPN usually run the same game most weeks. And the ABC number will be slightly higher in viewers. The ESPN number will be slightly higher in 18 to 49 because, ESPN attracts a younger audience. This one, same game, the ESPN, the ABC number was up, which didn't surprise me because the Chiefs are in, who are a big drawing team.
Yeah.
The ESPN number was half of usual for, perhaps the biggest drawing team in the country.
Wow.
And the 18 to 49 number was half of what I would have expected. And it's like, there was a World Series game. That doesn't mean that much. And if the World Series meant something, why didn't it hurt ABC? It didn't. ABC was up like you would expect. So it's kind of like, okay, it just absolutely doesn't make sense. And I've seen it with other shows, like on Wednesdays, it's not just AEW Dynamite, but Challenge, which is, one of the shows that AEW is, battles at and they're both doing equally terrible. If that's the term, when they were both a month ago doing equally good. So it's kind of like, okay, where do you go, and lose, not quite 50%, but 40% of your demo audience, things haven't changed on either of their shows greatly. AEW's TV's been lots of good matches, and it's the same. It's the same as it's been. If you think it's not good, it's still not good. If you think it's great, it's still great.
Well, you know what, Dave? We'll keep tabs on everything, and we'll try and solve the ratings mystery together. Always appreciate you, sir. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, have a great week.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
CKXU-FM 88.3 in Lethbridge is Southern Alberta's true alternative radio station.
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
Proudly carrying McGuire on Wrestling every week.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something different to listen to,
this is gonna be a slobber knocker!
Check out our NCRA award-winning lineup of programs or stream us anytime at ckxu.com.
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
Final segment of the show. I want to invite you to the Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page and our conversation with Dave Meltzer there about AI-generated pro wrestling and whether or not that could be a thing of the future. There's a poll up on our Facebook page asking you, would you pay to watch an entirely AI-generated wrestling show? Yes, no, or no, but you would watch it for free? Those are your three questions here, which Matthew Smith on our page, he's always great for usually pretty entertaining, pretty funny comments, but he said, isn't this like watching WWF No Mercy on N64? That's exactly what I just said to Dave. Exactly what I just said. I said Warzone, but still, like, that's the exact same thing. I remember being a kid and doing that, where you'd let the video game play itself and see who would win the match, and usually the matches were just awful because you had nothing in it. You had no feeling invested in it. You weren't playing, you weren't winning, you weren't losing, so it didn't really matter. Even then, the soul of it was gone because there was no human interaction with it whatsoever. So, do I see a fully AI-generated match being a hit? Not in our lifetime. But then again, the way this AI stuff is going, I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's all so crazy, right? But we'll see. Anyway, voice your opinion on the Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page. You can also find Celebrate Wrestling on Instagram, and you can find me at McGuire Show wherever you go. CelebrateWrestling.com, by the way, is where we keep everything, including returning merch. New merch going to be coming soon. I still haven't heard from our buddy Scotty A in Australia as to whether or not he got his shirts yet. If he didn't get his shirts yet, then I'm going to have to call the Australian Postal Service or something, or maybe Canada Post. I don't know. Somewhere they're in the mix. But bottom line is that new merch is going to be coming, and we'll make sure it gets to you one way or another. If I got to hop on a boat and get it there myself. Anyway, something else I want to talk about this week before we wrap up the show. There was a photo that came out of Saturday night's main event that had a lot of you talking about it on said Facebook page. And it's the photo of CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Ricky Saints, or Ricky Starks, and Jade Cargill now all being champions in WWE and NXT. And I don't know why, after all this time, people still feel the need to rag on any of these four people, okay? Ricky is the latest one to be a part of the company, except for Ethan Page, to have big success in WWE or NXT since leaving AEW, right? We've seen this happen now with a few stars that have come from there. And isn't that what you want? Isn't that what we want for our favorite wrestlers, for these stars, for these talents, to go somewhere and make something of themselves? Lord knows if it went the other way around and all these guys came in to AEW, you'd want them all to be champion. You'd want them all to do well because it's doing well for them. So the bottom line is, I look at that photo the same way I look at the Toronto Blue Jays not winning the World Series on Saturday nights. Follow me along with this one. Okay? You've got some talented people. You've got some famous people who are all doing their best to become the best at what they do. Well, wrestling's not a real sport. Take that out of it for a second here. Because even though the Toronto Blue Jays did not win the World Series, yes, fans were disappointed. Yes, fans' feelings may have been crushed because they bought into that team. These guys are still all super rich. They're all going home to buckets of money. Gold buckets. Diamond-encrusted buckets, probably. Except for that You Savage kid. Did I hear he was making less than $100,000 a year? You got to think that's going to change next year. Anyway, bottom line is that you can not like a wrestler. You can not be a fan of a wrestling promotion. That's fine. But it's when the fans start sniping at each other, that's when it gets to be a line crossed. So let's all just chill and remember what we're watching here. We're watching a TV show with characters that some people like and some people don't. You can cheer and boo your favorites all you want, and that's why we call this channel Celebrate Wrestling, and we invite you to do just that. But let's just remember, we're all a fan of the same thing, and that's guys and girls in their underwear pretending to want to kill each other. Right? And it's great. It's great. That's pro wrestling in a nutshell. That's this show in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to get some more voices on. It could be yours as well. We're going to try and bring back another edition of Have Your Say, because I want to talk more about this AI-generated pro wrestling thing and see what you have to say about it. But that's going to shut her down for this week's McGuire on Wrestling. Again, CelebrateWrestling.com. If you want to support the show by just subscribing and downloading and following the Facebook page, that's all for free, and that's always about pro wrestling. It's here for you, as always. Until next time, thanks for listening and letting me do what I do. Play safe, drive safe. Be seeing ya.
McGuire on Wrestling. Online and on the radio. Listen to the show Mondays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time at CKXU.com, wherever you get your podcasts, and at McGuireShow.com.